what I thought we'd talk about tonight is related to the stories that you've just heard. And see, I would like you to all sell something soon. Right? So that would be that's my dream. Right? And what we know is that most real estate agents in California, the California Association of Realtors surveyed the real estate agents a year or two ago, and they asked them, how do you get your business? What is the primary sources of your business? And 80% of the real estate agents said their primary source of business is their sphere of influence and open houses. In fact, the way it was said is that they were saying 80% of the business they get comes from sphere of influence and open houses. That's what now, the National Association of Realtors, when they survey buyers and sellers and ask them the question, how did you find your real estate agent? About 40% of the time they said they were referred by a family friend or coworker. About 20-some% of the time they said that they had worked with the agent before. So whether it's 40% or 80%, it's a lot, right? And I know that for people that have other jobs, that oftentimes the greatest source of potential business are from people that you actually know. What I've noticed is that, and when I find, let me go into something. When I find that something's not working, which happens quite often. If I find something that's not working, what I typically look at is going back to what I would refer to as the basics. And so what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about that and discuss what we could do. Welcome back, that's right. So what we're talking about is having a sphere of influence. And we're going to look at eEdge, which is a database program that's available to you through Keller Williams. And the question is, how many people do you have in your contact list? Right? You may have heard me tell the story, but I'm going to do it again because I don't have very many good stories. But there was a guy that I worked with at Century 21 by the name of Jim Drews, D-R-O-Z, who was interviewed in the writing of The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. In Keller Williams 36-12-3 lead generation course, there's one section that has Jim Drews' picture on it and quotes from him on the side, even though he was at Century 21. He was the #1 Century 21 agent every year in the United States 10 years in a row. Each year, he grossed over $1 million in commissions with an average sales price of under $300,000. I was working at the Century 21 office literally right there. And I had known him from the region, and he came up and spoke to our office, and we went to Outback, that Outback for dinner. And I remember him asking me, he said, so what are you doing tonight? Because he was staying here at the hotel to teach this class. And I said, I'm teaching a real estate class, right, for the real estate school. And he said, can I sit in? Right, and which means he has a very low threshold of entertainment. And although I've taught these classes a lot, I have to admit there was this little flutter when I'm looking at the #1 real estate agent in the United States listening to me talk about FHA loans, right? And the point where I'm going with all this is that after 10 years, he retired from real estate and he sold his practice. And somebody bought it for a 6-figure sum plus a residual for so many years. And so the question really is, what was it that Jim Drews was able to sell for 6 figures plus a residual income? What did he have that was worth all that money? And the answer is, it was his database.
I was going to say Jim Drews.
Yeah, well, he was gone though after that, right? It was his database. And there's a great video on KW Connect, which is, if you don't know how to get to that, you log into KW, and if you don't know how to log into KW, talk to me. You log into KW, you go to education, you go to KW Connect, and there's Gary Keller in the database, and the video is actually called Gary and His Box, and it's about the box that he had for his database and how the market was bad, and he borrowed money from his father for his real estate business using his database as collateral for the loan, right? So he was able to show his father all of the contacts he had and when to follow up and what he had talked to him about and when he was going to talk to him next. So a question that would be good to ask ourselves is, how much would somebody pay for our database? Right? If you were going to sell it, how much would you be able to get on the open market? Or if you were going to borrow money, how much would somebody lend you based upon your database? Now, for a lot of people, this is a sad thought, right? Because they're like, I don't really have a database, and there's hardly anybody in it, and I don't know who they are, and I'm not doing anything with it. So do you understand, the key, there's a Gary Keller saying that it goes, the database is your business, right? The database is your business. And so when I'm coaching people sometimes, I'll ask them, well, how many people do you have in eEdge? How many people do you have in your database? And if the answer is, I don't have any, then the chances of making money have gone down. Now, that doesn't mean you can't make a deal with somebody here at a restaurant or meet in an elevator or talk to on Facebook. But if you want to have a consistent business, I was told by my mentor, he used to say, the fortune is in the follow-up. Right? The fortune is made by following up with people, because everybody you know and everybody you meet now or in the future is going to want to buy or sell real estate. Some now, but most in the future. Isn't that right? Some now, most in the future. So that would mean that how many do you have? What categories do you have? Do you have past clients, friends, acquaintances? Are there people you hardly know? One of the people I was coaching today, we were talking about this, and she was telling me she had 800 people in her database, right? And doesn't know what to do with them because, and my suggestion was that you might want to export all of them into a file and then delete them, and start by getting 100 5x8 cards or a legal pad or a spreadsheet, and think of everyone you know. The goal is to come up with 100. See, the reality is she doesn't really know 800 people, right? She's collected, my Google contacts has close to 5,000 names in it, right? So my eEdge database has over 6,000 people in it. I don't know them all, right? You understand? So I do it for a certain reason, and I'll talk about that. But what you ought to do is, as a goal number one, is to find 100 people that you actually know, right? Just 100, right? And if you'd like to do much better, try for 200. But we have to start someplace, and then when you've identified 100 people, the next step is to have a conversation with them. And you would say something like, if you were buying or selling a home, do you have a real estate agent that could help you? Something, if they say, yes, I already got an agent, delete them. Now, that doesn't mean you have to take them out of your Google contacts. I'm saying delete them from your eEdge, your business database. If you ask them, if you were to hear of somebody thinking of buying or selling a home, would you feel comfortable referring them to me? If they say no, delete them. Right? We don't need a huge number, but we need to have a database and we need to work the database. So the define part means, and there's really, even though it looks like there's 5 categories, there's really only 4, because the last category is delete them. So an A+, now what many people say when they look at this is they don't have any A+. So an A+ is somebody that's already referred business to you already, right? Somebody who's already referred somebody to you. If you're saying, well, no one has ever referred anyone to me, you don't have any A+. And A would be somebody that would do it every once in a while, maybe. If you say, well, no one's ever, didn't you hear my answer to the first one? No one's ever referred anyone to me, so you don't have an A and you don't have any A+. What many people have are B's. clients that may need to be asked to, but would refer to you. All right. Now, the goal of the system is to move people from one to the other to the other, right? To move them up. So a C might refer somebody to you at some point. Actually, most people have C's. How about this? Isn't that true? Most people have C's. People that might refer, but have not yet. And so what we want to do is move the C's to B's, the B's to A's, and the A's to A pluses. That's what we want to do. And D's are people that you are going to delete. And for best result, you should do this like once a quarter, at least twice a year. Right?
So you group them, so you create a
You
group?
create a group like that,
Yeah.
right?
And you try to-
Because one of the things that, what?
You try to move them up each time.
You try to move them up, and I'm gonna, maybe I'll just, since I'm in PowerPoint, why not? Why not? So what we're going to do with them is we're gonna create groups, right? And it is true that our groups would include these different categories, right? A plus, A, whatever. What might be some other groups? Now, my definition of a group that in terms of e-edge or in a customer relationship management system would be some demarcation, anyhow, some group that would affect the type of message we would send them, the manner in which we would send it, or the frequency in which we would send it. In other words, I've had people say, well, people from my Yahoo account, should I make in a group? And I said, well, are you going to send them something different than you would people that are from your Gmail account? No. Well, then don't make a group, right? Do you understand? So I've had people say, well, I have some people I know from church. Is it possible the tone of your message, the words that you would use, might be different for people that are in your church than people that are not in your church? If the answer is yes, then make a group, right? But if when you ask yourself the question, am I going to send these people anything different than the other people? If the answer is no, don't worry about it. And in e-edge, people say, well, how about buyers and how about sellers? Those categories are already built into the system. How about investors? That's in the system. How about other agents? Well, that's in the system. How about vendors? Well, that's in the system. Then I've had people say, well, I've got a group for title companies and a group for home warranties. Really? Are you sending them something? No. If you were, would you send the home warranty guy something different than the title rep? No. Well, then why not just call them vendors? Right? I mean, really.
So a different group would be like homeowners and renters?
Those are, renters is a group, or a category already. We'll look at that. How about this? Other categories might be simply Mets and haven't Mets. I oftentimes will create a group. We have a 33 touch, and if you might create a 33 touch buyer, you might create a 33 touch seller, you might create a 33 touch sphere of influence. Right? That means you don't know if they're a buyer or a seller, you just want to send them something. Right? There's also an 8x8 buyer and maybe an 8x8 seller and an 8x8 sphere of influence. Right? So the idea with that is that if we create a group like that, and I'll show you this is a little tricky, but if you create a group like that, and let's say you have a 33 touch sphere of influence. And by the way, if you're saying, well, I don't really know if I can do all of these, just do the 33 touch sphere of influence and use that until you have enough material for buyers and sellers. Right, and I was going to go through, if you would like, an example of what one might look like, just for giggles, right? So the way our system works, and by the way, in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, when they interviewed the millionaire real estate agents, they were finding that those people were getting one transaction for every 12 people they had in their database that they were using effectively, right? In other words, they were using these touch campaigns. Keller Williams didn't invent them, other people did, and they were using them, and we're getting one for every 12. That means two for every 12, excuse me, or one for every 6. Right in the revision of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I've heard that they're changing the number for one for every 10. So our top agents in Keller Williams, for every 10 people in their database, see, we're talking about advocates and advanced advocates, they were getting one transaction. So if you wanted to do 10 transactions, you would need 100 people. Right? That would 100 people. If you made it a goal to talk to 5 people a day,
20 days.
5 days a week, that would be 100 a month or 1,200 a year. And if 90% of them said, I already got an agent, I wouldn't refer anyone to you if my life depended on it, right? Then you would still have, if you got 1 out of 10 of those people, you would have 120 people in your database, right? So what, an 8x8, some of you may have seen me do this before, but I'm going to. Is that okay? So what an 8x8 is, so if we put somebody in our database, an 8x8 is the way in which we become familiar to them as real estate agents. And what that would generally look like is, number one, I'm too lazy to number them myself. Number one would be, we would send somebody a handwritten note. And if you're saying, well, can I text people instead? I don't know. I don't know. The idea of the handwritten note is people are not used to getting them, right? And if you say, well, none of the people I know read, but I don't know, try a handwritten note. So an 8x8, this would be a weekly thing. So week 1, you'd send them a handwritten note. Week 2, you would call them on the phone. What would you say in the phone call?
Did you get my note?
Did you get the handwritten note? Week 3 would be an item of value. And I'm going to talk about another way to group people, which we haven't gotten to yet, which would be email only versus mail. Right? You understand? You're going to probably have to create a group that's called email only. Because there's some people you're only going to have emails for. But if you have their physical address, you ought to mail them something. They're far more likely to look at it because people get a lot of emails and it's easy to ignore it, harder to ignore a postcard. And I've had people say, well, it costs too much to send the postcard. If you use the Keller Williams e-Edge system, it costs about 82 cents to send a color postcard to somebody. Right? Now, considering that a gross commission could be $20,000, I don't know, right? You could do a few months of that. So week 4 would be another phone call, and what would that phone call be about? Did you get the item of value? So can everybody think of what would you give to somebody who's thinking about buying? What's going on with interest rates? Did you know there's a 3% down loan programs? What can you find things that people ought to do before they buy a home? Can you find lists, checklists? What should you do if you're thinking about buying a home? Do you understand? So a phone call, number 5 would be another item of value. Number 6 would be a phone call where we would say, did you get the other item of value? Number 7 would be an item of value, and 8 weeks would be a phone call. And by that time, they will probably know who you are, right? Do you understand that when asked, when somebody's talking about buying or selling real estate, how many real estate agents' names do people carry around in their head with, like in the RAM, right, where they could access it immediately without having to think very hard? And the answer is not very many names. Right? Even if I can go through it, and it depends upon what you're into. some people will get a whole bunch of things, like, name a running shoe. People that are runners will name like 12 running shoes. Most people can't name 3, right? If you're not a runner, right? You can't name 3. Potato chips, people can name 1 or 2, and then they start to, grind. Right? You understand, our minds only have so many names that we carry around, and the goal of the 8x8 is to get your name in their consciousness. What we would then do, does that make sense, everybody? By the way, that would work with a buyer, a seller, or a sphere of influence. It's calling them every other week. Right? That's all that we're talking about. So let's look at, now once we've done that, we would put them in for a 33 touch. 33 touch. And a suggestion might be 12, I'm going to stop capitalizing stuff, 12 monthly newsletters. 12 monthly newsletters. Do you have to write them yourself?
Nope.
No. Where would you get stuff from?
From car.
California Association of Realtors has a newsletter for you to use. It doesn't cost anything. It's called Client Direct. Client Direct. If you log into car.org and you type in the search box Client Direct, it's going to take you to a professionally done newsletter where you can upload some of your own stuff. Right? You can make some of your own changes to it. So that's one. What's another?
Keller Williams.
Keller Williams has this month in real estate, a long version and a short version. Long version takes a little work to modify. Could you make your own? Based upon, right? Who else has newsletters that real estate agents can use?
The mortgage company, the title company, yes.
The mortgage companies and title companies will give you all sorts of stuff that they would allow you to use. Home warranty companies also have newsletters that you could use. And most of these can be modified, so you would include something about what's going on in Santa Clara County. Would it be a good idea for you to focus every month about what's going on in Santa Clara County? How many of you get my this month in real estate, right? Don't I do it did I do it this month yet? No, I did it in April. It's not this month
did
yet.
do it this
I did do it this month. So every month, isn't it true? Every month I go and I modify it and I make it an image and I send it to everybody. Right? So if nothing else, you could take that and stick it in with somebody with some of the other stuff. 12 monthly newsletters. Now we're trying to get up to 33. How about 12 monthly events / holidays? So the next month is May. Are there any special events or holidays in May?
No.
Mother's Day.
No.
Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day.
Oh,
May?
Mother's Day.
May.
Isn't Memorial Day in May?
Is Memorial Day in May?
No,
No.
Memorial Day's in, no, I don't, yeah.
Or
Memorial
last
Day,
weekend
yes,
in May.
yes.
Memorial Day?
Camping.
Yeah.
It's the last
So we
weekend.
have Memorial Day.
Right, it's the last-
We have Mother's Day. What else is in May?
May Day.
May Day.
May Day.
Cinco
We
de
don't-
Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
I knew somebody, there has to be one drinker in the crowd, right? That's it. Yeah. Cinco de Mayo, Mother's Day, May Day. So how about June? Is there anything in June?
Graduation, Father's Day.
Graduation? I heard another one. Father's Day?
Father's Day.
Did I hear Father's Day?
Yeah.
Graduation. So could you do something about a card, like for graduation? I'll show you how to do one before we're done today. All right. So it's June. July, any holidays in July?
Fourth,
4th of July. August, anything happening in August?
August. I don't know, when it's in August.
Because what happens in August?
My anniversary.
Back to
Back to
when-
school.
school. Back to school.
Yeah, to school.
Back to school. June, July, August, September,
Labor Day.
Labor Day, October,
Halloween.
Halloween,
Columbus
November,
Day, Veterans Day,
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Does everybody see where I'm going right now? Is this a hard thing to find out? No, it's not really a hard thing. All right. So 12 monthly newsletters, 12 monthly events and calendars, and so we're up to 24. Isn't that right? So if we had 9 more, we would be fine. 4 quarterly. Now these are for people we know. We're going to call it a pop by. and I know I spelled it wrong, but, you know, it's hard to stand and talk and spell. Does everybody know what a pop-by is?
Stop by.
This actually, the phrase came from Brian Buffini, who actually, I believe, got it from, sorry about that, got it from Joe Stumpf. Joe Stumpf was the original. Brian Buffini was he did more with it. Is that okay? All right. And I was talking to people about pop buys, and by the way, I'll print this out for you guys. It's, I think, 50 cents ought to be good. I have to make it a living somehow. Pop.
You mean email that, right?
Well, I'm gonna just I'll show you what I did. Where did I do it? Pop. P-O-P.
You can email the PPT too, right? So I don't need to write.
Yes. I'm gonna email the whole thing when I'm done at very little cost. All right, here are some, all right, so this is the list. People are like, ooh, you have this list. And I have to apologize for some of the humor. But and by the way, so people, this came from something about, this is May pop by. So a pop by would mean somebody that, let's say in your advanced advocate group.
Okay.
What?
He did one with the seeds.
Right, where you pop by and give them something.
Okay.
So this is from an agent in the Sacramento area who's making little ice cream sundae Mother's Day pop buys. Bottom of is filled with bath salts and a shower puff on top. Right, there's pictures. So these are just some examples of things you could give. Now, I understand her humor needs an operation, but you make my business, potted plants, you make my business bloom. Happy Mother's Day. Candle, your referrals light my business on fire. Bath salts, call Peggy for your real estate needs and your next transaction will be relaxing as a long warm bath. Truffles, does everybody sort of getting the idea, right? Bubble baths, shout wipes, Cinco de Mayo. And I'm sure that Sylvia will use this one. Nacho Ordinary Realtor. Yeah.
Consider it stolen.
How
Just
about-
put it on Facebook tonight.
Make a postcard.
Yeah, Nacho Ordinary Realtor. Or Margarita, always shaking down the best deals for you, for the highest. Don't get stuck in a bad cactus theme, general spring ones, garden. And so I was showing this to people today, and they asked me, how did I find that? And I'm going to show you how I found it. I went to this website called Google. I typed
How do you
in
spell it?
pop by ideas, and I swear the first website is called popbyideas.com. Yeah. Buffini and Company, Buffini is the guy that's really marketed the pop by thing, has a Pinterest page with pictures of things that you could do. Agent Pop by gets an ideas for realtors. Pop by gives an ideas. Facebook pop fun. Here's a video of somebody doing one. You get the point, right? Do you understand? If you do just a teensy bit of research, you could find one. And I'll give you a copy of that list because it's for May. And by the way, that Peggy has one for every month, right? Has something to use. So as we're going through our list, so if we do 4 quarterly pop buys, how many do we have? 28, right? Isn't that right? So there could be birthdays, right? And if it's a couple, that could be 2. And I would say that Mother's Day, M-O-N-T-H-E-R, Mother's Day, T-H-E-R, Father's Day, we're pretty close to 33, right? Isn't that? Now, you could throw in something else, like if you listed a house or sold a house, you could throw that in as something, but we've done that, right?
Fallback.
Fallback. all of those spring forwards, fallbacks, that could be considered a monthly event or holiday. Right? Is this a hard thing to come up with? Right. Now, the other thing that I would encourage you to do is engage on social media. And what that would mean is, and I've had people say, well, I don't want to use my Facebook page for anything that isn't really personal. I mean, I see pictures of people, what they post, and I don't know what they're worried about, right? If they'll post those pictures, what wouldn't they post, right? You know what I'm saying? But do you understand, in Facebook, it's possible to make a post that only certain people see. Did you realize that? That you can create a list, like a list of people that are your real estate, your A+ list. Right? Does everybody, by the way, if you don't know how to make a list in Facebook, why don't you Google, how do I make a list in Facebook, right? Rather than me showing you how. It's not very difficult. And then what that would allow you to do is to take real estate stuff and post it so only those people saw it, right? Only those people saw it. But a value of Facebook, by the way, is not your posting stuff, as it is your like, sharing, and commenting on what other people have posted. Because I've had people say, I don't know what to post. I have nothing to post. I've got nothing to say. You don't have to say anything. Nobody cares what you had for lunch, but they want everyone to know what they had for lunch. Isn't that right? So when they take a picture of the sushi that they ordered, right, you're supposed to say something. Right? Isn't that all right? And then all that we're doing is we're bringing people, we're entering their area of consciousness. How are we doing with this? Now, just to jump back, so pop by ideas. So this is what eEdge looks like. Mine looks different because I got special stuff going on. By the way, for those of you that have day jobs and things like that and don't have, if you go to the education section and go to KW Connect, and I know that some of you use this. By the way, you may not know this, but we know who has watched which videos. Just telling you that there's a report generated every month. And I've had people say, yeah, I've watched all the videos, and I'm like, no, you haven't. So look at all these videos, right? There's a lot of things that you could be doing, including, how to do stuff in technology and sphere of influence. I don't want to get into all that too much, but let's just talk about, how about Cinco de Mayo, right? I think I talked about this last week, did I? All right. So let's talk about, how do you do something? So you want to make a Cinco de Mayo postcard.
Sure.
Why not? It could be, what else is it? There's Mother's Day. And I'm going to, what I would do, and by the way, you want to make sure that I'm just going to do it. Okay, so Cinco de Mayo. By the way, I'm going to show you, and I know that somebody's going to steal my idea. I'm going to show you what I posted on Facebook last year for Cinco de Mayo. Okay, I will, let me just show you. Here it is. This is what I posted. That's what I posted on Facebook last year for Cinco de Mayo. And that one would go over well too. But anyhow, let's get back and get rid of that. So let's say you wanted to make a Cinco de Mayo card or newsletter. Now, what I would generally do, I'm in Google image search. I put in Cinco de Mayo. I'm seeing lots of images. Some are happy. That sounds good. But if I go to search tools, one of the things I want it to be large or at least a medium-sized picture, right? Something over 500 by something or other, just because. Now, if I'm going to use this for print, I might say I want it to be large, because that means it's going to have a high enough resolution. And I could have something like this and have it say, Happy Cinco de Mayo. I could have this one. It's not up to me to pick the one you're going to use. But how about, and this may not be from, is it Sunday, May 5th?
Yep.
All right, so this one is actually
No, it's Tuesday.
Tuesday. All right, so we're not going to do that one. So how about this one? Let's celebrate the Cinco de Mayo. How about that one? Now, I'm not saying this is the best one to use. You're going to find that there's a whole, some of you are going to like the cats with the sombreros, I know. But let's say this is the one you want to use. If you right click and go to Save Image As. Now, what I typically do, and for those of you that aren't geeky, I've had some people that are really strained with this, but I've installed on my computer a program called Copy.com. And Copy.com works like Google Drive or Dropbox, but there's something special about Copy.com that Google Drive and Dropbox do not have. And you'll notice up here, there's a copy folder. You see that? When I hit save, it's saving it into my copy folder. And I videotape these because if you're getting lost, you can watch them, but this shouldn't be that difficult. I'm going to type in CIN to find the one I just downloaded. How about CINC? And this is the one here. Now, what Copy.com does, if I right click, I get a special dialog box, and one of them, and it's not doing it right now, probably because I don't know why. It's just not doing it right now. Let me see why. Copy actions, there we go. And I can click on copy public link. This is the thing that's special about Copy.com. And I'll show you why that's special. And by the way, this doesn't work with Google Drive or Dropbox. So now I'm in my eEdge program, and let's say the easiest way for me to send out a Cinco de Mayo something or other is for me to get into the back of the system. And this is, some of you have already seen this because this is how I do the newsletter, but I'm going to do it without a little bit differently just for those who want to. I get into the back end and I go to email, compose email, and the subject would be something like happy CINCODEMAYO. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on insert image and I'm going to paste in that copy link. When I hit tab, it's going to give me, that's a big picture. And so what I'm probably going to do is make it 500, maybe 550. 600 is sort of pushing it. And when I click on OK, you see what it's done is that the picture now appears in the email, right? And so I could write something above it. I could put in Nacho Ordinary Realtor, right? Or I could write in a little bit message. And now that I've done that, when I click on to, I could send it to all my eligible contacts. Now my system takes a little while because I have 5,997 eligible contacts, right? Which I'm not going to send that. But does everybody see how that wouldn't be? That's an easy way to do it. Now, if you're saying, well, I don't want to do it in a email, what would I do? You can go to Create Marketing, go to Marketing Center, and over here now, if we're going to do it by email, we'd pick email, but let's say you were going to print out a postcard. Would you like to see a printed postcard or an email? Do you guys care?
Print.
A printed postcard. The concept will be the same. So I'm going to click on Print Marketing, and then it's going to allow me to pick, and I'm going to pick postcards. And what I'm simply looking for is a nice boxy card, right? And so sometimes it would have, how about this one here? So I'm going to click on it, and I know it says Happy Anniversary, but I'm going to click on Personalize. And there are some things I can get rid of. By the way, when you click on it, sometimes it shows you the little garbage can. Sometimes it doesn't show you the little garbage can. But you click on those little dots, and then the formatting bar opens up, and you do. And I don't know. We'll leave that there for now. But the problem is, somebody said, "Why don't you just add a green stripe?" But some of it is red and some of it is white. Why do I have the feeling I'm losing everybody on this? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the logo right now too. But I'm gonna go up to shapes and I'm gonna pick the box. And then I'm gonna drag the box up here and I'm gonna drag the box down there. And then I'm going to go here to the line and pick none. And what I've just done is I've created a blank slate for my card.
Because the red half is not deletable?
No, you can't delete that.
Okay.
That's why I'm doing it. You have to either work with it or cover it up. Now that I've done that, I'm going to click on Image, Upload Image. And by the way, they do have some stock images. Did you know that? They have some stock images. They just don't actually have one for Cinco de Mayo. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to CINC. Come on. And this is the one. You can see I've done this before. And so here it is. We click on Upload. And the image will, this is a big image. But there it is. And we click on Close. And we stick that up in the corner. We drag it that way. We center it. We have a Cinco de Mayo postcard. And well, that's the front. The back has contact information, logo, picture. You could add something and we're ready to go. Now, what you would do is click on Save, and then somebody said, how do you save it? Well, you click on Save, and instead we'll say CINCODMAYO postcard, and we click on Save, and we click on OK, and if I have all my people, and then I click on Exit, and now it's going to allow me to either mail it directly through eEdge, right? So if I give them a credit card, they'll actually mail it for professional print services starting at 23 cents each.
If you click on the mailing, I think it'll change the number, won't it?
It depends on how many.
Oh, okay, never mind.
And you print mailing addresses and you could add it to the card. What it usually, you need like 25 in order for them to mail it out for you. It comes out to about 82 cents a postcard, two-sided, color, addressed with postage. Right? Now, you understand that's cheap compared to what your alternatives are, or you could click on the download the PDF and you could download the PDF and go get them printed someplace else.
And you send them the Excel, whatever your database.
Well, what you have them in eEdge.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a group in eEdge that, remember I said groups should mark how you might communicate with them. So you might have an email only group, but you might have a postcard group or anybody else other than email only. And the postcard group is somebody you plan to mail something to. And so then when you go through this, it's going to say what group do you want to mail this to, and you pick that group. And it already knows their addresses because it's in there. And if you have somebody that you've mistakenly put in the group and you don't have a mailing address, it just skips them.
And oh God, I copy always in Excel.
Right. No, there are undoubtedly better systems than eEdge, right? I don't know which one it is for real estate. eEdge is actually, the market leader system is the most widely used customer relationship management system in real estate. It's not perfect, but what I would suggest that you do, because you're already paying for it, is learn to use it, right? Before, and then there's this program called Top Producer, and people say, well, now that I'm getting good, shouldn't I, buy Top Producer? I've helped maybe a dozen people kick Top Producer and get rid of it and use eEdge, right? And you're gonna find that there are more similarities than there are differences. But rather than you going to the trouble of downloading the PDF and you go and you buy the special paper, right, because it has to be heavy paper to be a postcard, and then you're copying it, on the copy machine, which is 22 cents each, right, because it's two-sided, but you cut it in half, so it costs 22 cents per postcard. And how much is a first-class stamp? 48, 49, 49, 8.49 plus 22. We're up into the 60 range. That's expensive paper, right? And then you have to put the labels, and you have to put the labels on the cards. You understand? You
All
might
the
be
time and effort is another $2.
right. So do you understand? You're shaving maybe, hopefully, a nickel or a dime off of each postcard to spend an hour to do it. You could just make sure everybody's in your database and just let it go.
So would they recognize, if you go to the back of your card, okay?
Yeah.
Cause I had that, for my first cards, my address thing was too big, so the post, they wouldn't send it. I got all my postcards back. Would they
I believe that this system,
Yeah.
will go out.
This looks big to me.
Well, that system it's done by a company called Shutterfly, and it goes out.
Okay.
But you had your own printed? Through who?
I had E-Edge printed
Oh, you had
myself,
EH printed and then send it to you?
and I sent them out myself.
But you use the PDF and send them out yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And
This
my
just
picture too big, you know, like.
Oh,
And then
They probably, did it push your address into the area?
you know,
Go-
the mail, they scan it on the,
Yeah.
you can't go in a certain.
Yeah, no, you can't.
learn it.
I believe that this works. So
Did you record this session?
yes, I'm recording it now. It'll be on YouTube tonight. So the idea is, to summarize, you want to get everybody you know into the Edge database, right? You want to go through your cell phone, your email, everything. And if you don't know how to do this, I have a website called Do the One Thing, right, which I'm going to be spending more time on, but right now this is what it looks like. There's some stuff about Zip Forms, Michael Lewis Marketing, KW Technology. If you click on that, you're going to find videos about the eEdge Academy. I have an updated one that's really long. How to make a flyer, how adding contacts, how to import your database into eEdge. Right. If you were, by the way, to Google search, how do I import my database into eEdge, you'd find a whole bunch of stuff on how to do it. If you watch that video, you need to get everybody into the system in order to use the system. Right. And then just to show you so let's just one other thing and then we'll call it a game. Right. I'm going to go to contacts and DAHLIA, Dahlia, is that the right one? No. Oh well, DARLENE. Who did I talk to today? No. I have two Darlene Barracks. No, I think I just deleted that other. All right, so let's say I pull up this guy, Kyle Malone. And the reason I have so many people, they're agents. Right? That's why I have so many people in my database. So I've talked to so many people today, I don't remember the one I talked to that I could actually pull up. But when I talk to somebody, I have this system open. And I make comments about what's going on with them. So there was a person that went through my real estate school who told me today she's working at Alon Pinnell in Palo Alto. So I asked her if she would be interested, she's brand new, in going to some free training held by Keller Williams in Palo Alto. She sent me back yes with exclamation marks. Right? So I scrolled up, I wish I could remember her name, I scrolled up and I clicked on the reminders and I clicked on add a reminder, and one of the reminders I added was a task, and the task is to send this person's contact information to Nicole, who is the team leader at Palo Alto, and tell her to invite this agent to training. The next thing I did was schedule another task, a phone call, and I clicked on this and I went ahead a couple of months and then clicked on a date and then typed in to follow up with the person to see how they're doing, right? So what makes a system, a customer relationship management system, is one, the ability to keep your comments in one place so you know what you talked to them about last time you talked to them. And number two, the ability to add reminders so that when you, every day you log in to the system, it'll tell you who you need to call, what you need to do, and it shows you what's coming up in the following week. It'll, by the way, if you put people's birthdays in, it'll tell you that week whose birthdays are coming up. Right? It's been a while since anybody ever asked me, how do I find somebody's birthdays? Right? But some guy asked me that this week. And I asked him if he used Facebook. And he said no. And I said, well, there you go. Right? That's the only reason. So by the way, Facebook birthdays, we could type in, let me go through the, one, we could type in happy birthday, right? Which you can do on your cell phone. Right. Number two, we could go to Google, type in happy birthday, and we could click on images, and we could find an image that we thought looked fun or nice. I should have given Jeff the Hello Kitty one, and it was his birthday. So you pick one, and you download it. You right click on it. This one's the GIFs won't be bouncing, but you pick one. You click on it, and I'll show you one that I've used a lot actually.
KW has some generic happy birthday ones as well.
Yeah, I know. I usually try to find something a little bit more fun.
Snazzier.
But
There
so
you go.
yes, there you go. I don't have a filter on right now. So how about just this one? You right click, you save the image, and then when you go to Facebook, instead of typing in happy birthday, you go to post photo, and you upload the photo. So now they actually have this image that says happy birthday. Would it be more effective if we maybe texted them happy birthday if we had their phone number, right? If as we're going down, everybody's going to type in happy birthday, even people that don't know them. Happy birthday, right? Because that's what you do. You go, happy birthday, all the people that on Facebook that day. Some people are going to go to the trouble to find an image and upload the image. That's what's a little bit better. Some people are actually going to, right, text them, happy birthday, hope you have a great day. Some people will send them a happy birthday card. Right now, the field is narrowing, right? And some people will call them.
But won't
and
a
say,
lot of other people see it if you post on Facebook too?
yes, but I'm not saying you don't post on Facebook too. I'm just saying that sending him a text message and doing other things. There's one that I post, and I didn't do this for Jeff because, by the way, if you just type in happy birthday funny, the one that that I've used a lot is, let me find it. Yeah, I know. You get all sorts of. I have to go through this quickly. So, see, here's a nice one. The old lady lighting her cigarette from the. Anyhow, I'm not finding the one I was looking for. Right here we go. This is the one. If it's a guy I know who's a little older, I post this as their Facebook happy birthday post. Right.
The EH reminder doesn't send an email to remind you?
No. Yeah, the difference between Top Producer and eEdge is Top Producer will send you an email every day telling you what you need to do. eEdge assumes you're going to log in. And by the way, you can log in from a cell phone, a smartphone. If you do mykw.kw.com on a smartphone, it's not an app. It's a mobile responsive site. It'll show you your reminders for that day. So it's sort of assuming that you're actually going to log in and look. But it does not send you an email to remind you. And by the way, one other question that I've been asked, and I believe I was saying the wrong thing. Let's say somebody unsubscribes. Does that mean they never get any more email from you? And the answer is not really. It means they don't get any automatic emails. But if I go up to email and compose an email and I drop them in, I pick a group that they're in, then they actually do get the email. Right? So you have to make them either delete them or mark them as trash and exclude them from the email system. All right, was that enough?